thank you for joining us for our Digital Mondays session on how to get started on Instagram, Reels, and TikTok. We have Christina with us today, whose business is Creative Polymath. And Christina, you're going to explain a little bit about who you are and what you do. So please.
Hi, ladies. As introduced, I'm Christina. Thank you so much for having me here. I have been in the creative industry for over 10 decades now, and my passion is to help businesses and creatives be able to understand how to merge into the social media space. And I know how difficult it can be, as we're entering a new industrial revolution and things are changing. I think it's important for people to have an understanding of how to use the basics of social media. So I own a creative agency, and what I do is I um, allow businesses to have an understanding of what their needs may be in terms of creative endeavors. And I bridge the gap between young professionals that are in that creative space, as well as adults and people that have had much experience in the creative space, whether it's a photographer or even, you know, a digital designer, whatever it is. It's just bridging that gap for corporate spaces and small businesses. It doesn't have to be a big business, it could be a startup as well. I just help you find the right people to be able to create that content for you, and you know, and merge the gap between that creative endeavor that you might be pursuing. But yeah, I'm happy to help. I'm always about serving other people and serving in excellence. That's my mantra. Always pursuing the spirit of excellence. And behind that is the heart of service. So I'm happy to serve. I know in this world, many people might find that word quite demeaning. But I thrive in serving others because that's what leadership is about. If you've been blessed to have a good business, um, and that helps others, you're ultimately serving your community, aren't you? So yeah, and that's me. I think should I go straight into the slides? Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I'm going to share my slide, and I'm going to, allow you the space to be able to interact as well. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. You can raise your hand as well. I think there's a prompt just at the top which says raise. Um, and if I haven't noticed, then Jenny will also highlight that to me as well. So just feel free to interject, ask questions, because it's an interactive space. I like the conversation flowing rather than, me speaking and then stuff and then waiting until the end for you to say something. So feel free to interject in between as well. So I'm just going to share the slide window. Let me know if you can see everything. How's that? Great. Anyone having trouble seeing anything? No. Great. So today the talk is about strategy for managing content on social media. In a nutshell, it just basically means I'm going to help you to understand the psychology and the simple steps of building your brand or your personal brand, or just being comfortable in social media. So the table of contents would be setting clear goals, audience research, platform selection and editing, engaging content. I just need to minimize the screen. Engaging content creation and audience. 7, metrics and tracking. And that's a lot to do with your engagement and analytics. So I think that's what's important. To know how well you're doing, you need feedback and qualitative data, which basically means numbers, tells you how well you're doing. Doesn't necessarily mean followings. I don't really go with followings. I usually go with the metrics in terms of your engagement, because that's what sells. You can have 10,000s of followers, but you're not making any money. Your business might not be getting the feedback that constant retention from clicks from social media. So Number 8 will be editorial calendars, understanding how to create content in advance. And that's what Harriet was speaking about, intentionality. So I'm going to go through that and help you understand how you can be a bit more intentional. And then we have continuous improvement and experience. This is where I'll touch on how to continuously find ways of improving your business through social media and looking at the trends as well, because trends help you understand what the market wants. And then I'll touch on my experience a little bit. But we'll start with the set clear goals. So what's important in social media is setting clear goals. Once you set clear goals, you have more of an intentional step of how to grow your business. It's just like how you create smart goals in a business, especially when you're starting your business plan. It's the same with social media. You have to be just as intentional. So what I'll say is you need to establish precise, targeted objectives for your content. What do you want your audience to think, feel, and react to? Those are the things that are important. So think, feel, react. Those are the 3 things I would highly recommend that you note down. Think, feel, react. Because,
Sorry, Christine, can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course, yes.
So when looking at specifically Instagram and TikTok, this is important for depending on, it doesn't matter what platform you're using, is that right? Like you're just...
Yeah, you're correct. Yes. It doesn't matter what platform it is. It could be, so Meta covers Facebook and Instagram. So that's what covers the 2 platforms that are under Meta. So whenever you hear about people talking about Meta platforms, they're talking about Instagram and Facebook. And then TikTok is its own platform. But this general rule is applicable to both TikTok and Instagram. So yeah, you're correct in that.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. So, and another thing you want to consider is, are you aiming to increase brand awareness or drive traffic to another platform? And the different platforms offer different benefits. For instance, Instagram, it allows you to have both brand awareness and drive traffic to other external links, whereas TikTok, it prefers in-house link submissions. So if you have a product, they prefer that you sell that on TikTok rather than you have an external link, because you can't really click on many links except for Amazon links. Yes, Harriet, you've got a question?
So for TikTok, so if you have a service, not a product, can
Yeah.
you link to the service, or how does it work when it's not product based?
Yeah, so if you have a service, I would highly recommend using the link in bio recommendations, because it's difficult for you to actually get any to put any links on any of the stories or the actual posts that you post on TikTok. So I would highly recommend using the link on bio, and always like using prompts to, tell your audience where to go and making it clear and objective that, okay, you can find this link here, or even use an arrow format to indicate where they should go.
Perfect.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
No problem. And the other question you want to ask yourself is, are you aiming to boost conversations? So that could be mainly for like services like yourself. If you're offering community-based services, or you're offering one-to-one sessions, with Jody, you were speaking about health and wellness. What is it that you want to push out? For instance, sometimes I like to boost conversations that are deep, because I'm a deep thinker. I like to have deep and insightful conversations. So one way that I might promote my platform on TikTok is by having authentic conversations and being a truth teller. That's how I define myself. So you could find your own personal branding in this, and that could promote how you boost conversations based on your own persona rather than an external means of defining what you're serving others with. So the next platform will be audience research, and this touches on setting clear goals. What you'd want to understand is your avatar. Does anyone know what avatar means?
Is it your ideal client?
Yes, perfect. Any other thoughts on what avatar could mean? You can drop it in the chat as well if you're less comfortable saying it. Um, but what's important about audience research is that you can understand what your audience is interested in, what their pain points are, and what their preferences are. So I know that pain points might be something that's quite unfamiliar to those that might not be familiar with social media and marketing. But pain points basically refers to a part of a process or system that causes problems or obstruction for your consumers. I don't know if that definition was clear, but I'll repeat it. It's a part of a process or system that causes problems or obstructions for your consumer. So this is important because you need to identify not only their interests, but things that might be blockers for your audience, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram. So for instance, on TikTok, you might find that your audience are less attentive. It's a constant loop on TikTok. They're constantly going down different reels and TikToks. So the pain point that you might find is that they might not be interested in watching, you know, aesthetic type content. They might want the real raw kind of content on TikTok. Whereas on Instagram, it's more about how you present that. They want more of, you know, something that's presented well with a clean cut cinematic um, view rather than something that's more natural and realistic. So based on those things, let me ask Anisha, was it Anisha? Just to confirm. Yeah, it's Anisha. Anisha, how would you say your audience would appreciate okay, let me rephrase that question. How would you what kind of things do you think your audience would want from you as an owner, as a business owner?
I
Based on
think,
the interests and pain points.
yeah, I think pain points would be kind of people wanting to find better ways of dealing with any health problems. And maybe have gone to the doctors a lot and they're not really getting anywhere because it's a multitude of things, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I think then giving them different ways of, and because it's not just one thing, it's a holistic, isn't it? So it could be
Yeah.
that you need to do a bit more movement, exercise, you need to maybe settle down and look at your mental stresses in your life, because that can be one of the biggest things as well sometimes. It could be the food you're eating. So I think it's kind of dealing with yeah, the pain points of, I've been trying this, and it's not just a one hit, pill, magic pill. There's many things that you need to kind of look at. And I'm sure, I think it's Jodie, and I think somebody else would also agree with, that it's not just something. So for me, the pain point is, I mean, I think everybody's probably suffering with one form or another, a pain point to do with health, in general. I think it's hard to try and get the balance right to have everything. You have to have a perfect life. But for me, I think it's yeah, looking at talking about my perspective from my experience and my point of view is I'm a scientist by background, so I'll be going into
Mhm.
kind of the more sort of the scientific aspects of it, as well as
Mhm.
sort of yeah, I think the way I want to do things, I think, is kind of I will find my audience based on my own authenticity rather than
Yeah.
trying to emulate what's already out there. There is a lot out there, and I think there is a lot of health and stuff out there, but I think it's needed as well. So not everybody will resonate with you, but whoever does, if I can help a few people and get the information out there that there are other ways of dealing with things that's better than possibly just the way they've been doing previously,
Mhm.
then that's kind of my take on it. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question though, in terms of
I understand what you're saying, and that's great that you can identify the physical needs of your service user and your audience. The pain points that they might, face as well, let's say referring it back to using digital social media. Maybe the health aspect might inhibit how long they can actually um, focus on social media, or maybe they might not even be on social media. So what else could you do to reach out to them through word of mouth, right? And if you're able to, deliver that message well on social media and that awareness is spread through your services, it can also become translated well in through word of mouth. Because I agree, there's no better way than creating a service that's so powerful that people are talking about it. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know if that's yeah. So just based off what Anisha spoke about, I understand that sometimes it can be quite daunting coming on social media and trying to present your product in the most authentic way that's true to who you are. That is very well possible. But again, all of that still needs strategy. For example, if I'm speaking to an audience of people that are not that interested in social media, but they are going to be interested in my service. Let's say I'm providing something like a solution for cancer, for example. A lot of people are going to be interested in how I can help them find a cure for cancer. Social media might not be their platform, they might not enjoy being on social media, but because of the message and how well I present that message through interest, pain points, references, and intentionality, that can reach that audience that's outside of social media, because the word of mouth spreads not only just through social media itself, but um, you know, but intentionality. And that's why I think it's important for you to really truly understand who your avatar is. And even if you know that they might not be on social media, the small percentage of your audience will find that and refer you. Because at the end of the day, if you're giving something good, it will definitely translate on all sides of the coin, social media and outside of social media. Um, so yeah, so is there any questions based on what I've presented? Have you understood clearly what this means? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up, even if it's not, let me know as well. Yes, Anisha, you have a question? Oh, okay. It's
It
a
was the
thumbs up.
thumbs up, not a question.
Sorry. Great. Okay, so just to touch on your avatar slash your niche, in case you might not actually be providing a service specifically to people, maybe just a business in itself, or you just want to present, you know, you just want to present that well through your personal branding. The first thing you must do is define your niche early on. How many of you guys know your niche already?
I'm struggling to find that.
Yeah.
I've not got mine. I'm trying.
Okay.
to find it.
Okay. So So Jodie and everyone else that might feel like they don't have that understanding of who their niche is, here are a couple of questions that will help you find and identify who that is. Okay, so firstly, your service, Jodie. You are offering a service that helps improve people's health and wellness. What age demographic do you assume that person would be? This is a rhetorical question, by the way. What role and lifestyle do they, do they practice? What kind of location would you find them? Would you find them in a coffee shop? Would you find them in parks, taking walks? Would you find them at herbal centers, buying, products in there? Your local market, like Arndale Market, are they found there? What are their goals in life? Are the goals to prioritize health more than wealth? Are the goals to prioritize, having rest and solitude more than, you know, hustle and hurry? You get to understand that based on asking yourself that question. If I was that audience, if I am that niche, what would I want? Who am I? And then your next question will be, what do they care about the most? Is their priority having quality over quantity? So they would rather pay for value rather than cheapness. You get what I'm trying to say? They prefer the quality over the price. Efficiency, speed, how quick do they want that service? Is your service something that needs to be on the go quickly? Is it a subscription type of service? Is it is it a bespoke kind of service? Is it customized? Sustainability, is the service that you're offering, is it something that sustains over time? Is it a one-off service that is sustainable? And what kind of status do they care about? Do they care about a high status, having a high status in society, or they're not really bothered about how other people perceive them? All that matters, because generally when you're marketing on TikTok or Instagram, you need to know exactly who you're marketing to, because that will help you strategize on how you're going to hashtag, on what kind of prompts you're going to put on your titles. For instance, am I going to use certain clickbait titles, or am I going to use specific, POV prompts? And that's something that's quite popular now, both on TikTok and Instagram. Initially, it was on TikTok, but now it's more popular as well on Instagram. People want to understand POV, like your personal view on things, because that can help with sales. And it can also help people relate to you, connect to you a lot quicker. What problem are they trying to solve? That's another question. That's the key question, I believe. What problem are they trying to solve? Because with every product or every service you're trying to provide, whether it's even Harriet music and activities for children, what is it that parents are trying to resolve? Is it that during school time and term time, or during maternity leave, parents are looking for ways to get their children out of the house and busy? Think about those things. What problem are you trying to resolve for your avatar or niche? Speaking their language, right? That's what's important. That's when I was talking about POV prompts. Yeah, Natalia, you got a question?
Yeah, I'm just because we're just talking about music session.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering. Yeah, I did this my client's avatar, but I find like different groups of avatars. Yeah, it's different type of clients, and each type need another advertisement, uh, another pain. They've got another pain. Like one parents just need to fun for children. Another parents need education for children. It's different aspects, and I'm just thinking how to combine, or we don't need to combine, or we need pick different groups. I don't know how to manage this all together.
I understand what you mean when different clients have different desires and requirements. Well, that works perfectly for your business, because then it's open the expansion for your business. Does that make sense? So whether that means working with a team or just alone, that's an option. But social media is there for you to be able to attract not just one type of audience, but audience that have similarities, not necessarily the same desires or requirements, but have similarities. And if you can meet the common denominator, especially when you're promoting on social media, then you've won. You're not trying to reach everybody, but you're trying to look at the common denominator and all those requirements. What is your client's common denominator? what is your, your avatar, your service, your niche? What is the common denominator in all they're requiring? Can I ask you, Natalia, what do you think the common denominator, what's the common thing that you hear from all these parents?
I think it's like gives the children opportunity to learn music and be confident through the music.
Okay. So if that's the common denominator, then maybe that's something you can push forth on your social media platform and, speak to them directly about. Okay, so I could give you an example. It could be, personally as a parent, I'm tired of finding this, and it's difficult for me to do this. That could be a prompt for your title. And then you can write down what you provide. And at the end of that prompt, you can then say, well, I found a solution. And you can then give an example of the things that your services offer. And that's how you can present that on social media, either both on TikTok and Instagram. Because when you have solution orientated prompts, one, you've got a prompt that's relatable, and then you've given a solution for it. Instantly, you're driving traffic to your services, and that's speaking their language in essence. What you can do is you can also give examples below in your captions, because Instagram and TikTok allow you to have long captions up to 6,000 words. And with those prompts, what can happen is that you can then give an example of other things that other parents might require as well, and give solutions for that. And that's also an open basket for you to create a content calendar based on the individual needs. So you have content to your demise based on those requirements and answering those questions, if that's clear. So again, speaking their language, use the terms that they use, and that's something that I was touching on recently. Yes, Harriet, of course, you can ask a question.
So with my service, so I help neurodivergent women through menopause, and a service that I'm wanting to start promoting is supporting women pre and post GP appointments. So the intention is to help them feel like empowered and informed going into the appointment. So it reduces the overwhelm and also reduces the number of times that they're going to a GP to try and get a diagnosis. And then support afterwards, because it can be quite overwhelming, being given lots of information, and with neurodivergence trying to reduce the overwhelm. So from what you've just said, like the common denominators, so for me the words that have come up is overwhelm, lack of time, and feeling dismissed. So am I best to like separate them and do them in 3 short like reels, rather than saying all the information in one reel? Because I don't know, I was going to put everything in one reel, but now I'm thinking, oh, should I do it like, do you have loads of time to go to the GP? No, this service could help you, kind of thing. And then, do you feel overwhelmed? This service could help you. So it's like separate rather than clumped together.
So I actually wanted to touch on this later, but this is a perfect time to kind of introduce that as well. So with both platforms right now, holistically, they are very much into creating content that puts your audience on a journey. So doing episodes, maybe consider doing an episode, that talks specifically about the struggles of neurodivergent women and their hospital appointments, and how overwhelming it can be. So you can title it whatever you feel. So my journeys, and if it's specific to you, something that you can relate, you say my journey of a neurodivergent woman and my experiences with hospital services. And then you start an episode 1 where you talk about the overwhelm. Then the second episode could be misunderstanding, you don't feel understood. So you don't have to specifically blurt out all the information at once, because again, that can even be an information overload.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Well,
yeah, so
thank
yeah,
you.
no problem, no problem. So yeah, so again, like I think that's what's important for Harriet. She's mentioned something that they struggle with, which is an overload of information. I think that's also quite common across platforms. People want a quick fix as well. They don't really want to have too much information, and they don't want to be staying on one reel for too long. Only if it's speaking about some. I find that storytelling allows people to engage longer. But if you're not able to storytell and you're selling a service that's not directly tied to a story or a testimonial, then maybe it's best to make them quite short through carousels, and that is directly speaking their language, because you're no longer you understand the audience that you're speaking to initially and how they respond to information, whether it's a lot of information or quick efficient information. I'll I think around 11 o'clock, maybe we can have like a short break so we don't have an information overload ourselves. Is that okay, Jenny? Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. It might let everybody just kind of take a breath and sort of think up other questions that they might want to ask as well. Great.
Great, amazing. Okay, so I'm speaking their language, so match their tone, right? That's based on aesthetics, and I find that that's more important on Instagram. Instagram really wants you to be able to speak to your community in an intentional way, and I find that that's even better for businesses. But we'll touch on that a little bit later in the next slide, where I specifically speak about the different platforms. And you want to create content that reflects on their day-to-day life and their reality. So speak to their reality. And what we want to do as well is to tailor to the hero features. And so you're basically the heroine in this case, because we're all women. So we're the heroine, and the job of the heroine is to basically become their savior of the day, um, through social media. And what you want to do is, like I said, you can bring the problem in your title, your video title, your carousel title, because on Instagram you can also do carousels as well as TikTok, and then find a solution immediately for them. And that way you're answering their questions immediately and bringing their engagement in. For instance, if you have a business that offers services like Jodie, what is the benefits of using a product that she has? As simple as that. I think product-based services are quite easy, in fact, because you can highlight the benefits immediately, and also share testimonials. You can have other people that have had positive outcomes from your service or business speak on your behalf. And I think that's even more powerful, using before and after imagery or before and after experiences. That's another way. Um, Package personalization and visibility, making that as visible as possible. So personalization is about the way you present things on your platforms. And like I said, Instagram and TikTok are two different platforms that require different things. So with TikTok, presentation is not as important. However, Instagram presentation is key. Your Instagram is your mood board. It tells the story before your audience actually read the story. So it's like the book cover of your business. So how you present your social media says a lot about your business, and especially on Instagram. Yeah, so a quick takeaway that I'll just highlight. Um, okay, before I nearly skipped an important aspect. I'm aware that I don't want to keep waffling. Um, Starter kits, pro series, student bundles, things like that might be ways of identifying what your audience, the language that your audience speaks. So if you're speaking to students, when they see student bundle, immediately like, oh yeah, I'm saving money, something that can help me save money. You're speaking their language. If you're speaking to neurodivergent women, oh, you are seen. I see you. It's something that's their language, because they want to be seen in a world where they're constantly ignored. So immediately when you say I see you, they've instantly been hooked into whatever services that you're providing. Maybe you want to highlight that more in your services. And like I said, what's important is testimonials, making sure your brand is clear. So, for instance, with Instagram, you can actually hold highlights, story highlights on your Instagram, and keep them on your page so that they don't disappear and go. And that's one advantage of Instagram compared to TikTok. So what you do is probably have testimonials on your stories and then save them on that highlight and put a highlight that says testimonials. That way your audience can see that, okay, she's had positive feedback before. Let's see what other people have said. And again, that sells your services and your products a lot better. And then, so quick takeaways from this, because I don't want to keep rambling on. 5 and 6 and 7 are basically just content formats that match your audience behavior, like I was speaking about before. Do they want quick, short reels, or do they want storytelling, testimonials, something that speaks to them directly? 6 is run niche focused offers, messaging tests, and that's what I was referring back to, which is package personalization. Building community. You can even build a community based off product based services. Because let's say, I'll give an example of brands nowadays, they actually host events and invite their audiences to try their products. And there, they also start to build conversations around, let's say if it's a beauty product. Okay, how do women feel? And what is it that they're trying to mask behind that? What is the problems that they face in terms of beauty? What is the problems that your audience are facing in terms of the service that you're providing? And how can you build a community out of that by bringing conversations into play? Prompting that through commentary, whether it's also commentaries or lives as well. And that's something that you can now do both on TikTok and Instagram. Another bonus. So yeah, quick takeaways again. Pick a niche, learn the language and their pain points, tailor your product messaging, visuals and offers to match them. Prove it with social media proof and test what resonates with your audience. So it could be testimonials again, in a nutshell. And so I'll just move to the next slide quickly. So here is just a small graph that highlights platform selection and how you can gauge that based on where your audience is. This is just the reason why I didn't put specifically each social media platform, is because this is specific to your audience. So knowing where your audience is also part of strategizing and being intentional. My audience are more on TikTok because they want that realistic persona. They want to have conversations. They want to be able to get the real world truth from me on a face to face, kind of, what would be the word? Yes, Natalia.
How we can find some statistic or some information? What's clients on different platforms? What's the age?
Okay. So this is I don't know if you're great with using AI tools or you can use Google platforms as well. How are you with AI tools?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Good with them? Okay. So I would urge you to write a prompt that basically asks AI or even Google, where are mothers, children, and people that are interested in music, what platform are they mostly at, and what is the percentage for different platforms? That's the kind of prompt that I would use. Yeah. And if you can Google that question, if you're not actually familiar on how to use AI prompts, you can Google that question as well, and that would help you to be able to find that. You might need to do a lot more clicking into different websites, but that's one way.
There is quite a lot of information, isn't there, Christina? And a lot of marketing has been done. A lot of market research is done all the time about different platforms. So yeah, doing a Google search or an AI search is a really good idea. But it will direct you to, if you have a look at where the sources are coming from, if you do it on Gemini, you can dig really deep, can't you? But generally, I think we understand that generally Facebook is an older demographic to something like TikTok. Instagram has more women than LinkedIn, for example. You can get some really general stuff, but if you really want to dig down deeper, doing an internet search is a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. That's true. And like Jenny was speaking about, like it's quite easy to get the general consensus that she mentioned. Like Facebook is for, you know, an older demographic that are accustomed to what's normal, what's, you know, normal to them. They don't really want anything new or anything that's too different. So Facebook is more trusted for an older demographic and for those that aren't as internet savvy. And then for Instagram, you might find a varying different type of audience there. You might get, you know, moms, maybe young professionals, people that are on maternity leave, but it's more youth based, I'll say, and more business and youth based. So if you're selling your services directly to businesses as well, so Instagram is a perfect platform. TikTok, definitely younger audience. You find that people of youthful demographic, as well as young adults, are on there. But you would find that children, people that are above 16 now, because I don't think anyone under 16 can be on TikTok anymore. But everyone above 16, between 16 and the age of like 30, you find a lot of people there, even older if they're interested. LinkedIn is a great platform for businesses. I find that for me, if I'm speaking directly to clients who are in the corporate setting, LinkedIn is perfect, as it sells to a more professional demographic. Yeah.
TikTok versus Meta Instagram. As explained before, Meta basically encompasses Facebook and Instagram. But today I'm going to highlight mainly Instagram because what you can now do with Meta is you can create a business account that allows you to, post across both platforms. But I'll touch on Instagram for today because I feel like that's going too deep into um marketing at the moment. So let's focus on TikTok versus Instagram. So as you know, TikTok is a short form video promoting kind of platform which allows discovery and viral content. So if most viral moments happen on TikTok, you find that a lot of people that might have a small following on Instagram might surprise you in having like a larger following on TikTok because this is where self-expression is really promoted. So if you're someone less like Jodie that might less attention on themselves but doesn't mind showing their face, I wouldn't promote, products and services on TikTok as much. I would largely promote them more on Instagram, but with someone that is open and wants to be transparent and, be okay with being the face of their business, then TikTok is your place because this is where people want raw, real, and authenticity. So if you have a service that, we spoke about Harriet, you're really speaking to people that want to be seen and that deserve to be seen. This is a perfect platform to promote your services because you can engage better with the people that you are interacting with and that you're selling your services to. And that you are also providing, a solution for. Instagram, I would say, is more of a social graphic kind of creator content type of platform. This is where you find that most creatives that have cinematic type of content, and intentionally creative content would use this platform. So if you're someone that has content that is intentional and wants to be, into editorial work and cinematic work, I would highly recommend Instagram, as well as it being a social media platform. It is like I said, the cover to your book. It is where people are going to see what kind of services you're providing, and how well you present that will sell more on Instagram. Whereas with TikTok, how well people receive your products matters more, because they want to hear the testimonials and how efficient it works. I'll give an example of a business called Plant Made. Plant Made is a hair growing business that is, known for rapid hair growth. And that was a phenomenon because most people struggled with either, hair loss, eczema, different types of skin conditions. Because they provided a service that worked, they used testimonials, and people would talk about the product on social media without them needing to sell or say it for themselves. People were posting on their behalf. They were receiving content creation for free because their product worked. And this was happening mainly on TikTok. This now then translated on Instagram, and they had their viral moment. And when a product works, it sells well. Now, if you are someone that doesn't sell a product and you provide a service, if you are providing a service that changes people's lives, it can have the same effect. But it's how well you present that compared to how well you speak about it. Whereas, so you can't really talk about it as much as how well you present it on social media. Um, So then content discovery is one aspect of how people find videos. With TikTok, your For You page is where most people find that traffic is driven more from that page compared to like friends. This is where you'll find where all your friends post, people that you follow back. Whereas on the For You page, you're going to have a vast amount of content, people that you don't follow, people that the algorithm has, kind of guessed that you would relate to a little bit more. I will also
Sorry, can I ask
Yeah.
a very quick question? How many
Yeah.
people actually who are here today do have a TikTok account? You all mentioned sort of Instagram.
Okay,
Just
that's an
interested to
option.
know if you're familiar with TikTok already.
Yeah, I have TikTok. I have all the social media accounts. Well, I think I'm up to date with them all.
Great.
Always seems to be new ones coming. And Anissa and Natalia. Natalia
Yeah.
doesn't have TikTok.
Okay. Harriet, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I have TikTok and I have posted a few videos on there, but I feel like TikTok really scares me because I don't really know what I'm doing with it. Um, so that it's on me to learn more about it. But I think from what you've been saying, I think it would be good for me to do more on there when you say it's like about more about personality and you as a person. So it's definitely something that I want to look at more.
Yeah.
I just get scared of it because I don't really know what I'm doing.
I know it can be quite daunting on TikTok, but the funny thing is TikTok requires less effort.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't need a lot from you. The more you try, the less it will work. And
Okay.
I know that sounds quite difficult to understand, but with TikTok, it's just being 1000%. So if you have something that's on your mind that day, take a video. The most I would say is probably have a mic, but that's not even necessary because if you speak well and you make it clear what you're talking about with the right prompt, you will get the right audience. instantly. And that's why TikTok is great for like viral and trending content, because you are providing a service that's rare. I think people don't understand how important it is to bridge that gap for neurodivergent women. And that's something that needs to be talked about. So I would highly recommend you being on TikTok and talking about it, because it's not being said and not many people are hearing about it.
And I think because I do like to try and bring a bit of humour into what I talk about, I
Yeah.
think that's just like how I deal with things.
Yeah.
So I think on Instagram, I probably wouldn't want that humour element because I feel like I don't know if it's suited for that, but maybe on TikTok I could be more like myself and like laughing about stuff maybe on
Mhm.
TikTok.
So what I found is that most creators that create on TikTok, what they do is that if a video goes viral on TikTok, Instagram will have the best videos on, so you can translate those videos now onto Instagram, because what does well on TikTok, Instagram is catching up on.
Mm.
So I'll say in terms of aesthetic, and all sorts of things, Instagram is amazing, but you'll find that those trending topics and conversations initially start on TikTok before they end up on Instagram.
Okay.
So if you know something does well on TikTok, don't be afraid to post it on Instagram, because sometimes people actually are intrigued by conversations that are doing well, especially when it has the right prompt. You'll find that it doesn't matter what platform it is, it's still going to do well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Can I
Yeah.
ask you a quick one about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you saying like literally the same video that you put on TikTok, if it does well on TikTok, literally put that same video,
Yeah.
you're not reversioning it, you're not doing anything different to it, you're just putting that straight onto Instagram?
Yeah. So what you can do is that there's a way of um with the title, you might need to write that title again so that the algorithm will be able to pick up the conversation that you're talking about. If you do not put to, because it can't pick up a video that already has writing. But if you edit it by adding the writing and hiding the writing somewhere, it will pick up the writing. So let's say the title is POV, neurodivergent women need to be seen. You can put that title again. So what TikTok will do is it will save that video without the descriptions because you've posted it. But you can then post it again, but then you can now write that same title but hide it so it's not seen on the video. And that way it still reads the title, but it's reading off the hidden
The
text that you've
metadata.
yeah, and then the same engagement will probably occur, but you'll need to obviously do the captions and to the similar in a similar way that you've done it on TikTok, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how you can repurpose content. I think if it's doing well on TikTok, I trust that it's going to do well on Instagram, because Instagram tend to here and there they do embrace storytelling or something that's doing well already on TikTok. Yeah. Um, so in terms of yeah, so content discovery, I spoke about For You pages. Instagram is the discovery of Instagram is quite split. So with Instagram, we have stories as well as TikTok. TikTok has stories, and right now TikTok is promoting pages that are using the story highlight a lot more. So I would highly recommend putting stories on there as well. Personally, for me, I don't really use it because I don't think it's with what I do, it's not really, it doesn't push engagement. But for service providers, um, I think it will definitely help you, especially if you want to promote something that you're doing in the day that you don't really want to post. And sometimes with the problem with that I find with the stories on TikTok currently is that I feel like it could be a waste of content. If it's something that's good, you can post it and then repost it on your story. That could be a way of, having a two-in-one bonus. Yeah, so if it's that good, if the content's that good, post it because it could be short and snap. It could be like POV today. I was today years old when I discovered that the NHS still haven't found solutions for neurodivergent women. And then you can, you know, or let's say POV today, I was today years old when I found out this product actually works. Whatever it is, you can put that on your as a short clip. It could be 5 seconds of a video because the shorter video, the better you're gonna get in views because it's a loop. So if it's 4 seconds, the loop is a lot better. And then you can then repurpose that post and put it on your stories as well on TikTok. And that's another way of driving more engagement. Since TikTok are promoting that at the moment. And then with Instagram, yeah, like I said, you can post on stories. Now with Instagram, you have the benefit of being able to put your locations on the story highlight as well. I always say to anyone that if you are currently in a setting and you feel comfortable, and you've attended an event or you're in a space where, it promotes something that you're interested in, putting your location there at that point in time will also drive traffic because then the people around that space or people that see that story in that environment will also then view your story, which is adding to the engagement. And if you're providing a service, that's also bringing traffic. So if you can add locations, tags, if you're tagging the space, whether it's the event space or the restaurant, whatever it is, or even your shop, your local store, that's even better. So, or even the city that you're residing in. That's a good way of getting people that are local to that city to engage with your content. And then hashtags are losing their their reliability, but you can still use them. I don't think they are totally gone. But based on what, the founder of Instagram was saying, one of the CEOs, they were saying that, hashtags don't have as much validity as they used to. However, you can still use them. What works now is what they call, how do I define it without complicating things? SEOs. So if you put the actual, what you want to talk about, just put it in writing below your caption. So how to make this, or, you know, whatever your audience is inclined to, putting that in writing and putting commas next to it instead of hashtags could be a great way to pull engagement to your video as well. Because most of the times, what Instagram and TikTok are trying to do is make their platforms even a search web. They want to completely eradicate Google. Their mission is to eradicate Google and have people rely on their platforms for information. So if they can people and you find that I'm sure you do it yourself, if you're looking for something on TikTok or Instagram specifically, you might search and then you'll find that the answer will come through a video. And that's because that person has intentionally written exactly what you've now searched and it's helped them push that video to you. So you can do the same thing if you're looking for something specific or trying to sell something specific. Um, so then we're onto video style and editing culture. TikTok, you can also, so TikTok and Instagram are both beneficial for in-app editing. You can edit within the apps, right? TikTok have a lot more variety and they are interlinked with a software called CapCut. So if you want to get good at editing, I would highly recommend you using, CapCut as well, because CapCut is interlinked with TikTok and you can do all sorts to improve the style of your videos. They have templates and TikTok naturally promote CapCut templates on the For You page. So if you see a template that someone else has used, and they have put the template tag on there. You can use that and repurpose it. And naturally, templates tend to loop and go viral. So if it's working for someone else, it's going to work for you because TikTok will push what's going viral. So don't be afraid to use templates, even if you want to be authentic, because you can find the authenticity as you go. if you can make your life easier now, right? Why don't you make your life easier now while you can? And then eventually you can go a bit more, deeper into learning how to edit and all sorts. And Instagram have their own software, their external editing platform called Edits. It's quite new. Highly recommend Edits as well, because what Instagram is doing is that anyone that posts from Edits, right? They're keeping the quality of the videos remaining quite high, and they're also pushing that content out there. So, for instance, I've been use it for, let's say, if I edit content for a business, I've been using Edits directly to, push that content. And then what I tend to find is that the quality of my videos kind of looks a lot better than some of the other videos that I might have posted using CapCut. Because, Instagram have made it a mission that they want their users to use their own softwares and not any other softwares. So, and it makes it easier as well for you to use, for branding purposes. And now I'm getting into a bit of marketing. For branding purposes, if you're using similar images, similar text types, what you're doing is you're speaking to your audience directly, and you're telling them this is our brand, and you're imprinting in their mind your brand. They're going to remember you, whether your color concept, for instance, mine is burgundy and navy blue, and I use similar text commonly. Yours could be green, or for health, or blue, or turquoise, whatever it is. And that could be what's constantly imprinting in your audience's mind. If you use a common text through Instagram, let's say your audience knows you for using modern, which is one of the names of the text on Instagram. They now, every time they see that text, they subconsciously remember your business. So that's another way of just helping with the branding aspect of your business. And that's just a little nugget I thought I'd add into that just to help. But any questions so far?
So just to clarify, so you mean you talking about being consistent with your fonts and how the words that you're using as well, and sort of how you're using
Yeah,
the colors and the things that you have available to you in these apps.
yeah.
Just be consistent with it, yeah.
Yeah, it could be consistent, and you can make it consistent for, let's say, a few months, and then decide to go on a intentional rebrand. You don't have to always keep it forever like the same. You can go, it could be just a way of intentionally imprinting your brand into your audience, and then you can go on a intentional rebrand. So, um, previously, I used to have a color scheme theme, like where I'd highlight certain colors for that month, and then, I'll change the color theme for the next month. So you can do that. That can be a way of like presenting your portfolio, which is your Instagram page, in the best way you can. However, with TikTok, you don't need to do that. You're okay. You might just want to use good covers to kind of make your message clear, so that when people are looking for a specific um video or highlight video, they can see it in the title and the thumbnail before they even click into it. Um, yeah, and then the format differences with TikTok, um, typically vertical, swoop and loop kind of viewing, selling and promoting through casual, realistic, and candid content. And that's what I find TikTok is about. So if you're selling a product, what I would say is sell that product using other people as well, not just yourself. If you know people that can promote it on your behalf, do so. If you can use TikTok Shop, use it, because sales can be driven so swiftly and consistently. E-commerce is thriving on TikTok more than websites. If I find that websites nowadays are a little bit of a waste of time and a waste of money, but I wouldn't discriminate them completely, because that could be the perfect presentation for someone that might be a high earner. But if you know your audience isn't high earners and you want to just appeal to the general demographic, then use TikTok, because it's also some high earners buy off TikTok shop. So, and your majority of consumers are on TikTok. So use that to your advantage. If you can sell your product there, please use that to your device. With Instagram, they don't have a specific selling shop. However, they can drive traffic to your websites. They can drive traffic to your e-commerce brands, and they can drive traffic to also your TikTok shops. So you can use links to go back to your TikTok shops as well. And that's the benefit of Instagram, because it's so holistic that it's not limited to anything. You can branch out and still make quite sufficient revenue from that. In terms of community-based or service provision, I would say with TikTok, they want to hear and feel the experience from the audience and the service receiver and service user. Instagram, they want to view and see the experience in an aesthetically pleasing way. So it might not be that they just want to hear, oh yeah, this place was good. They want to feel what that place felt like. They want that editorial. They want to have the experience as if they're actually in the room. They want the sound of the champagne popping if you have a champagne popping, if you hosted a community. They want all of those things, because that's what brings the audience in on Instagram. And that is all about it. And I would say mainly that with Instagram, if you can't do it yourself, hire a professional, because it's always worth it in the end. Making your work less is always beneficial on Instagram, because then when you hire the external, you'll find that the revenue that comes from hiring someone that knows what they're doing is well worth it, and that you're not really losing out on anything. So yeah. So if you can't do it yourself, if it's difficult and you don't know how to edit perfectly, or you don't have the time to learn how to edit, which I think you should invest in as well, then hire a professional. But in all essence, it's quite easy to use edits. You can start simple. Short reels are still effective on Instagram. The shorter your reel, the better it is, but it has to be short and intentional. Yeah. And the longer it is, that's when you'll need to be more intentional about how it looks. But yeah. Best use cases. TikTok is often better for reaching new audiences. And I think I'll just quickly run through the last bit. Monetization. TikTok rewards frequent trend participation. And sorry, I can't see what's that. And video performance, sorry. And then Instagram supports monetization, brand partnerships. Yeah, and you can use a wider mix of different things, but I'll move to the next slide. If there's any questions as well, feel free.
I was just going to ask, when you say rewards, does that mean that it'll show up in your news feed? Like, is the algorithm somehow rewarding it?
Yeah. So the reward system is based on the algorithm. I think I should give a clarification of what the algorithm is. I think that's quite important. Excuse me. The algorithm is basically a backlog system that it's not a human being. It can't guess anything that you're doing. It's based on intentionality and systems. So what you put into the system is what you get back, right? So if you're putting something that's intentional, that your audience look and see and instantly it captures their attention, and something that is also consistent and sufficient, right? So those are the three things that I would say the algorithms are looking for, because what it does, it times how long someone has been on that post in particular. And the longer that person has been on that post, because it's also changed, and recently they put out a disclaimer that the views are now going to change. That it's not going to count a view. One view is not going to be per scroll or a second 1 second view, because that's how it used to be, hence why most people would get like 5 million views, because even if one person looks for 1 second, that's counted as a view. Now it's going to require for that person to engage for longer than 1 second or 0.5 of a second, and it's going to require for them to engage in it, whether it's by pausing or fast forwarding or liking or actually commenting or sharing or reposting, because now you can repost on Instagram as well. That will be the requirements for the new algorithm. So that means content has to be a lot more intentional now than ever, because before you could get away with just having a 2-second reel and then it's doing well, because the loop has gone on so much that people have viewed it for just 2 seconds. It's gone on so much that it's showing us 10,000 views, but they're not actually engaged in it. So you can find that a business can have so many followers, so many views, but then the engagement is low. And we'll speak about how you can understand how well the traffic is being driven to your businesses or your services based on the metrics that are presented on the dashboard, which I'll highlight shortly in here. So this is a short activity for you all. This is engagement. This is someone's engagement with no paid ads, right? No paid ads at all in the month of September to November. And you can see for the first 30 days, they had 19,564 views. And altogether, for the 90 days between September and the 29th of November, they had 61,707 views. Here you can see on Instagram, it will show you the percentage of how many of those were followers and the percentage of how many of those were non-followers. Here you can see on overall scope. So we'll focus on the 30-day. So here it's actually showing that the accounts reached here had actually dropped. So that means on the previous month it was a lot higher. So it would tell you how much it's dropped by within the next month. This is quite high already, but before they must have had a higher reach, and then it must have dropped down between that month. And the question I would ask to someone that might offer a service is, why? Why did it drop? So question could be inconsistency on my part, or is it the content isn't engaging enough anymore? I've changed something and it's not working. Those are the questions that you'd want to ask yourself as someone who is a service provider or a product seller. So this will tell you everything you need to know. This is your key to understanding how well you're doing in terms of driving traffic to your page, your social media. Why do you need to drive traffic to social media? Because if you have the right links, the right tags, it should be driving back to revenue and how much your business is making, or how much impact you're having in terms of your community, if that's what your goal is and money isn't the objective. So yeah, so here it will tell you how many of those views were based on posts and how many were based on stories. The reels was chopped there, but we can see it from there as well. In the past 30 days, those views were based on reels and 53% were based on stories. And then, yeah, so that way you can kind of understand the metrics of how well your content is doing. Each platform has their own dashboard. TikTok also have a dashboard, which allows you to see how well you're doing. And it constantly, the benefit of TikTok is it constantly gives you feedback naturally. It'll tell you how well you're doing through messages, especially if you've changed your TikTok or Instagram to a professional account. That's the key thing for you to get these engagements. Sorry.
Sorry, I was going to ask exactly that question, and you answered it for me. Is this because you have a business account that you're able to see this?
Yes, so you can either be a creator's account or a business account. So as long as you've changed your Instagram from not private, it can't be private, it has to be open, and it has to either be a creator's platform or a business platform, both on TikTok and Instagram for you to get these metrics. And another thing is with TikTok, once you've reached a following of 500, they allow you to sell not just from a shop. You can now, if you have a personal brand yourself, you can also sell from your own shop. So you can actually promote your products and have other people buy based on by clicking on the links if you have 500 plus followers. And TikTok also requires for you to have 1,000 followers for you to go live now. That's something to keep in mind. But live streams, and the reason why they've done that is because they realize live streams are making people a lot of money. People that might be selling products, right, are making millions just sitting behind the camera and selling and saying, today we have an offer and today we're selling this product. And people can ask questions and engage with you. And during that time, you can even explain to your audience in real time coverage. Okay, this is what the service is, this is what I offer, or this is the product and this is what I offer, this is how it works. You can even present um if it's a product-based service that you're providing, you can obviously showcase and demonstrate. You can even have a model. Some people have like they do it in a green room or a clean space or their house, somewhere that's clean, and they present that product either on someone or themselves and they demonstrate that product. And that way you can actually gain revenue from that. And that I think that's what TikTok have done really well in because it's real time coverage that works. Yeah. Yeah. So a question. So I have a question, a little challenge for you guys, just to kind of break the cobwebs, because I'm sure we're all a bit tired. We've been sitting and listening. Um, this is a guessing challenge, and based on these metrics, guess the number of followers this person has on Instagram. And the nearest number is going to receive a special prize from the Creative Polymath team. And this is a prize that is worth up to £500 and it's for free. It's for free. It's being given to you for free.
I'm gonna say about 2,000 followers.
Okay. Any other guesses?
I'm going to say 500.
500 followers?
Yeah.
Okay. That's Anisha. Anybody else? Harriet.
I'm going to say 3,600.
Okay. 3,600. And Natalia?
It's maybe around 1,000.
1,000. Okay. Is that all your final answers? Okay. This is the number of followers this person has. 296 followers. Who was it that said 500? Was it Harry? No, it was
It was
Anisha.
me.
Anisha. So Anisha, you have won the prize, and Jenny will send me your details. But guys, well done for trying because it's not an easy guess at all. And that's because there is a general consensus that the more followers that you have, the more engagement that you have. So I did a trial on a private Instagram page and I made it go professional. Um, and I did a trial to see if the methodologies that we implement in our creative polymath team actually work. And they did. For about 6 months. We trialed something and it showcased that you do not need to have a numerous amount of followers to be influential or to have um efficient outcomes from social media, especially if you're intentional. And that's where my mantra, influence over popularity. You do not need to be popular to be an influencer. You just need to have the right strategy. And influencer could be defined not just about, a beauty-based model or someone that is, an aesthetic queen. This could be an influence in your business. So your business is influencing in some way. It's influencing people to receive services from you. So then how you influence that is important because it requires intentionality and for something to be real and rare. So how can you do that? And this is the next question. Engage in content creation. That's what you require. For you to be able to make this happen, you need engaging content. And that could be by you providing content that is relatable, as we spoke about, or intentional, relatable and intentional. That helps people to understand how that relates to how people feel, think, and what was the other? And respond. That's the three things that I keep mentioning. Feel, think, and respond. Because feeling and thinking are two different things. Someone could feel seen the moment that they see your page. But how do you make them think about actually using your service or your product? That's you introducing your solution and how other people have benefited from that. Okay, so now that you've got their thoughts and response is what you'd want. You want them to respond by actually engaging in your products and buying them, or buying into your services and engaging in the community, whatever you're doing. And that's all based on how you present that on your reels, your carousels, which are basically slideshows of posts, picture-based posts or stills. With Instagram, you can now actually add movement into your carousels. They don't have to be reels. And that's another thing I forgot to mention. So again, this is going back to the metrics tracking, using the different platforms to track this. I think Meta, Facebook, when you use cross-posting, that's a great way of being able to know what's happening both on Instagram and Facebook. I will touch a bit on Facebook because I think that's also another great platform to sell community-based services, because a lot of people are more comfortable on Facebook. You can thrive better based on community based, engagements and stuff. There's a lot more trust there. So if you can look for the right platform and it will be of great benefit. Right, and the next slide is it touches on editorial calendar, plan content in advance, right? Find a topic, put a publishing date and promotion and use promotional strategies. You have platforms like Canva where you can actually create content calendars. I always highly recommend like using templates. You don't need to start from scratch because that's ultimately time consuming as well. So if you can alleviate your burdens by using templates or things that are already at your disposal, use them, and then, find the topic, for, let's say you can plan content for a month to begin with, so you're not overwhelming yourself. And think of these questions that I mentioned again. Reflection. No, sorry. Think, feel, respond. What do I want them to think about? What do I want them to feel? And how do I want them to respond? Find trends as well. That will help your audience find your content. If you see a trend, you can always adhere to that. You don't have to stick to specific content. If you a calendar is a guideline, and you can pre-schedule these content. So you don't have to always post everything. The great thing about Instagram is that you can schedule your content in advance. The only thing is with TikTok, it might be a bit different. You can't really schedule content because it's more of a feel-based platform. It's in the moment kind of platform. Whereas with Instagram, it requires intentionality and it's more based, it's based on long-term planning as well, and what you want and what outcome you want from that. So what you can do is with Instagram, you can schedule content in advance. You can do a week's worth of content in advance. And the general consensus is that if you're doing well as a business, you won't, especially on Instagram, you don't have to post every day. I know that's the biggest fear everybody has because they're constantly here, post every day and people recognize you. You could post every day and still not get the engagement you want. What you want is to be intentional and engaging because you could post 5 times a week, but there's a business that's posting once a week and they're making thousands more than you or 10,000s more than you because why they are being intentional about what they push out and their audience is engaging. Now, I'm not denying that consistency is important. For the platforms to trust you and for people to trust you, they require your consistency. Consistency could just be a consistent date. Like your audience knows that every Monday you post something, or every Tuesday you post something, or twice a week on Monday and Friday you post something. That's what consistency is because now they expect your content on those days. But it doesn't necessarily require you to be posting every day because I think that can also be an overwhelm to your audience. And yeah, you don't want that. So finding topic, publishing dates in advance, like I said, finding two or more dates that work with your schedule that allow you to pre-schedule those posts on those days. Promotion strategies as well. Finding promotional strategies that work for your audience. Do they prefer being, do you get more views on your stories than you do on your Instagram? Do you get more views on your posts? Because now with Instagram, you can see how many views you're getting on a post, not just a reel. So you can see how much views am I getting on a Curacao? Am I getting more views on Curaçaos or Reels? Like this will show you, and this is what I mean about using the engagement platforms. So here, stories are doing much better on a monthly basis. Reels are 23.9% there. And then posts are like 45.4% on in the month of November, October to November. So what I would do if I was this person is I would continue doing posts and less reels because reels are not doing as well. And that could be because people are finding the reels too lengthy or there's just something that's not engaging about them. So do what works and keep it going. If it works, if it's not broken, don't fix it, as they say. We are actually rounding up, which is great because then it gives a bit of time for questions. But yeah, so the last slide was continuous improvement. Again, this is all to do with not just business, social media as well. Finding ways of continuously improving your content. Don't ever limit yourself. Don't look at this as too big for you. Like, I'm not a social media person. I understand that. We all started off as not social media people. It's an industrial revolution that shocked everybody. So you can become a social media person, not because it's an obligation, but because it's easy. It actually is easier. And it's only it only requires your intentionality. That's the only thing. And there's people like myself that can help you make that job easier for you. Whether it's for a long term or just as a startup so that they can help you understand how it works. And then yeah, this is where continuous improvement is important and the spirit of excellence. Regularly assess your strategies, find what's working, what needs adjusting, adapt and refine based on feedback and results. Listen to your customers. Even if they're not speaking, they're speaking. Even if they're not commenting, they're commenting. So the lack of engagement is telling you something. And I would always say read between the lines in that aspect. And I know it's discouraging sometimes when you don't get much engagement, but that's what business is. You can't take it personal. You have to try your best to go above and beyond the emotion so that you can get what you want out of it. Instead, look at it and think, okay, they're not confident enough to say how they feel about the business. Let me read between the lines and actually improve on something, or find someone that can help me improve that. And then yeah, so I spoke about my previous experience beforehand, but you can gauge more of that on a one-to-one basis if you're interested. Just a short synopsis. I've worked with the Manchester City Council, Molton Brown. Yeah, again, and even with other businesses in mind, I've worked with the BBC, worked with BBC Three, I've worked with quite a few companies, just either as a content creator myself, you know, initiating some form of influence in those spaces, or as a speaker. So I understand what it's like to start from nothing, because there's many things that I've been through, and when you've been through quite a lot, the world can seem too big for you. But as a testimony, I can tell you now there's nothing impossible. But yeah, I'll leave room for any questions that you ladies might have. That's it for me.
Does anyone have any questions? Oh, yeah, Anissa, please.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know whether you covered it because I know I didn't come back from lunch from the break, sorry, in time because I had another call come through. But well, where would you use LinkedIn, or would you not use LinkedIn?
Great question. LinkedIn, what kind of so we spoke about your audience and your niche, and you said you are from a science-based background, but you didn't actually explain what kind of services you were giving.
Well,
Actually,
I am
Anisha, actually, because you won the prize, I can actually go into depth with you later.
okay.
Yeah, so I
All
can actually
right.
help you in deep depths
Perfect. Okay,
if that's
thank you.
better.
That's
Yeah,
fine. Yeah,
yeah,
no problem.
yeah,
Okay, because I
yeah.
know there's many platforms. I know that the most popular have become your Instagram and your TikTok, and they're the two that I haven't kept up with because I'm of the sort of more, I'd say, older generation, so I kind of know Facebook and I haven't never really used it. I've just for
Mm,
personal reasons, really. But
yeah,
again, I probably need to take up Facebook and Instagram linked. I know there's a link.
yeah.
But there's some people use other things like I've heard that Pinterest, and I don't know whether that is used, but I've heard of
Yes.
other platforms too. And again, it depends on the niche that you're trying to sell with which platforms you choose to find your audience.
Yeah, so Pinterest is amazing for your modernist, your aesthetic bay, your your health and wellness young
Yeah,
professional. So it's lifestyle based content and it doesn't require much engagement. But it's a good sales place because most people use that as a place to create mood boards as well.
yeah, yeah,
So I don't know if it would be sufficient for you unless if you're creating like inspirational, creative content that is advanced and trending.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, brilliant.
Just
Thank
very
you.
quickly, just in case anybody else who isn't here today had that question about LinkedIn as well. Would you
Yeah.
say LinkedIn is more sort of like a professional Facebook rather than for selling products and services?
Yeah, no, you can sell on LinkedIn, but it's not as reliable. Why I say that is because the professionals on there are not looking for just service providers. Um, they're looking for change, like global change, like something that's going to have a mass change, not just based on the product services that you're providing for, but is your product also something a community that can bring up a community and bring conversation in a professional way? Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. So it's different. I would trust if I was someone that was selling my services to like businesses directly, I would use LinkedIn. If I'm someone that's hosting a community and I require sponsorship and I want sponsorship, then I would use LinkedIn because that's where you find your angel investors as well. It's a great place to find your angel investors. And they require specific content that shows what you're selling. So they want to see feedback, like, in a professionally done way, whether it's like a blog story that expresses the testimonials from your clients, or a video that's professionally done that expresses, how good your services or products are.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions for Christina before we call it a day? Okay, everyone's quite quiet, so I'm going to assume that that's a good thing and everyone's had their questions answered. If anyone on this call does have any other questions for Christina, please feel free to send them over to me and I'll forward them on. As I say, we will have this recording on YouTube and I'll send out the link to everyone. Thank you everyone for coming along, and a huge thank you to Christina for putting the slides together and trying to make sense of Instagram and TikTok for us all.